Hi guys, Joe here, and welcome to 750 Gaming. In this one we'll talk about why I think boarding patrols are a good thing, and why I'm quietly optimistic about 10th edition. So when Arks of Omen first dropped, I was a little bit concerned. Not about the narrative progression. In my opinion, that can actually only be a good thing, as it keeps the universe fresh, and as I'm an absolute sucker for the Primaris scale Space Marines, I can't not be on board with it in those respects. When the story is well written, then the immersion into the universe lore sphere is just nice and easy, and it's a wonderful bit of escapism. Plus, that kind of allows Games Workshop their scope for new models and things, so I don't mind that as a bit of business. But the bit I didn't like about Arks of Omen was the ongoing tendency to ever move the goalposts. A bit of context then. In many senses, I'm actually a relative newcomer to this game. Sure, I played 3rd edition way back when I was a teenager, but in hindsight, well, I was a teenager, so it doesn't really count. My first real experience of 40k gameplay then has been this 9th edition, which, for all its foibles, I've actually been enjoying in its relatively stable form since I came back into this hobby in summer 2021. Now, I'm not naive. I've read enough forums and I've seen enough videos to know that nothing is ever perfect and that somewhere someone has had an issue with something in every edition of the game, every update when it lands. So I knew the bits of 9th that I liked probably wouldn't stay that way for long. But, there's always that little part of you that gets comfy with what you've got, and, no one likes change. Better the devil you know, and all that. Anyway, as a newcomer to 9th edition, what I did enjoy was how easy it actually was to put an army together. It's an unpopular opinion, but once you see through the 2000 point meta chasing army illusion and realise you don't need to be shooting for the moon when you first start, and that actually the 9th edition detachments are really useful frameworks for putting together smaller and affordable armies that are also varied and fun to play. Because here's the thing, for me at least, but I know I'm far from alone, the scale of 40k is just overwhelming to newbies. Add in all the things you also think you might need to start a tabletop miniature hobby, and there's just a lot of barriers to entry. And if those barriers don't immediately stop someone coming into the hobby, well, then the burnout that can follow really quickly certainly will. That's why I started this 750 thing. I'm trying to make viable 40k armies of between 15 to 30 minis for less than 100 quid, saving money on the plastic crack and trying to save a bit of hobbying headspace in the process. And you know what? Using a patrol detachment as a framework really helps here, because it allows you to take a varied array of units, which firstly is just fun and customizable and can turn out quite unique, but it also means you don't necessarily have to end up painting a shed load of the same models. For instance, you only need to take one troop fulfilling unit. You can take more, but you don't have to. And so you can vary it up and take some different elites or whatever. It works really nicely if smaller sized armies, and in my case 750 point sized armies, are your target. Which leads me back to the Arks of Omen chapter approved. Ignoring the points changes, there is a significant difference in the newfangled gameplay and detachment system they've got, where the minimum requirement is those 3 mandatory troops or elites or heavy supports or whatever. It just means you're going to end up having to buy, assemble and paint at least 3 squads of a similar thing, which could and probably will be 1, expensive, and 2, to me it just feels a bit boring. Now, I get it. It's aimed at keeping things fresh for the old hats and tournament players. It's a welcome puzzle for some, and it's also a bit more freedom for others who already have 2,000 points plus and lots of different units in their single army collection. It also means that some more elite armies can be fielded without paying a CP tax, you know what? Having a billion CP and all the stratagems available at hand isn't all that useful for new players. And let's be honest, too many strats and too much rule bloat is a common cry from experienced players too. So why on earth are we celebrating being able to use more of them and do more stuff on the tabletop? Are we all sadists? Well, yes, possibly, but that's another rabbit hole. Yeah, it's great for keeping tournament play interesting. But unless that's your jam, or you're always on the hunt for a winning combo because that's just how you play, then in my opinion, these constantly shifting goalposts help no one. Except maybe GW shareholders. But then we got boarding patrols, which seem to be a complete juxtaposition to the overall Arks update. But I kind of really like it. It's not perfect. I think it kind of sits in the middle of Kill Team and 40k at the moment, and it can't really decide whether it wants to be one thing or the other. Yes, it's designed as simple quickfire gaming that could be really attractive for the newcomers, but it's not really compatible with that open battlefield idea with the odd bit of scatter terrain that even the casualist of gamers could improvise on their kitchen table. You kind of need your boxy corridor scenery for the mechanics to work, which again could be a barrier. But I'm encouraged. The big pushes on Kill Team and Necromunda that GW have had recently suggest that this boarding patrol thing isn't just a throwaway. I think that they realise that there is a significant appetite for smaller scale tabletop wargaming within the 40k community and that there is a market for it. I also quite like the boarding patrol box sets that have been announced. I know that they're going to be limited editions, but I'm hoping they'll sort of become the norm. Depending on the price, I think these could well be a bit of a better starting point than combat patrols, and they seem to have been a bit more thought out than the start collecting boxes. I think it sets a precedent, or rather, I hope it does. If they can engineer boarding patrols in such a way that smaller scale 40k is actually supported properly, and not just in a Space Hulk setting, well, then I'll be really happy. So that's my hope, that all of this means that when 10th lands, then we'll get the rules reset that we're all craving. I'm optimistic that the overall core rules will be simpler for the casual gamer. I see a split in the styles of play happening. One where you can keep it simple stupid at smaller scale 500 to 1,000 point games, where your combat patrols and incursion sized battles will be more balanced and fun and user friendly. It's something that can be as inexpensive in time as well as money as possible, so that given the state of world affairs at the moment, the casual or want to dip a toe gamers can actually access the Games Workshop flagship product. But there'll then be the second competition style of play, which can have any additional situational rules and stuff to keep that arena fresh and exciting for the tournament players. Or, just the competitive ones. We'll have an actual proper split between the casual game and the matched play game, where the casual stays static for the life of the edition, and then the match play can keep evolving as necessary. I think Games Workshop have realised that one size does not necessarily fit all here, and that with the ever-growing popularity of other things like Grimdark Future by one-page rules, they need to act. Now, I obviously don't know for sure, and I could be very wrong and find myself very disappointed come early summer when everyone seems to think 10th will drop. So for now, I'll carry on putting together and playing my simplified 750 point armies in 9th using those regular detachments. Inevitably, they'll need a bit of work to reshape them for the future. I mean, points-wise, they're already outdated anyway, as per the Arks chapter approved, but my sense is, with the recent trends and diversions that we're seeing in this 9th edition endgame, us casual, smaller scale gamers could be pleasantly surprised come the evolution. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Let's go!
As ever, I don't know how often I'm going to be putting together these videos and uploading content here, so if you find this concept interesting and worth following, then your best bet is to hit subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Hopefully some links to some other videos of mine should have appeared by now, and hopefully I'll see you next time.